Guys, we're back.
Yeah.
We are.
And
Wow.
No delays at all.
And on time.
Yes.
No, it's not
It
like
is 12:30 p.m. Eastern time.
It's 1:02 p.m. Eastern time, and don't you try and tell the listeners otherwise. Do that. It doesn't matter if we're late. They're listening this around the same time. Listeners can't. They might be upset that we didn't record last Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah, that was weird.
Nothing to talk about, and even today there's a bit more. But
that was a bit of a streak we had, though, right?
What, we're doing two
episodes a week, yeah.
Especially two hockey ones since return to play happened and all that.
Draft,
draft, free agency, the draft, and just the monster, the slug that was the NHL entry draft. Jesus Christ!
That second day was wonderful.
Yeah. I feel like the way things have been going and how they've dragged on, we're gonna do like one episode dedicated to Mike Hoffman signing.
Probably.
Wherever he goes.
When he signs with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Or Sami Vatanen. I'm still waiting for that guy.
Travis Hamonic too, and Mikael Granlund. Well,
yeah.
In about a month, if everything goes to plan, we should be getting ready for training camp.
If Mikael Granlund signs with the Canadiens, I'll be 2 for 2.
I mean, he's not going to because they don't have any more cap, but
he'll take $900,000 on a player tryout.
Craig Smith and Mikael Granlund are like 2/3 of a perfect line.
Rediscovering that Nashville chemistry that we just never saw last year.
Well, yeah, because obviously Granlund was in Minnesota, right? No. He wasn't.
No,
what am I talking about?
He was traded to Minnesota. To Nashville.
Yeah, Craig. Mm-hmm. Did they actually play together? Like, were they ever? I don't think they were. Wasn't Granlund normally in the top six, and Craig Smith was on the fourth line?
He fluctuated because, like everybody who was a forward on the Predators, everyone went from 1 to 4 on the lines.
So you let Craig Smith and Mikael Granlund go, but you're interested in Mike Hoffman because okay, all right.
Nashville always wants that though. Like they always
should be
have to find a way to score. Remember like the Kostitsins were like their top snipers, and Alex Radulov. I remember that.
And then they got in trouble, and then they went to Russia, and then it was the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that. Yeah, I remember Radulov when he first came back to the NHL, and he was a Canadian. His first game in Nashville, he was getting booed out the building.
I remember. This is just like before we move on, but I just remember one thing that happened with him where I think there was an odd man rush, and his shift was done, and he went back to the bench. He didn't go after the guy. He didn't like back check at all. He just like went to the bench, and the guy had to break away.
Oh, man. Right, guys. We'll get into it here. We'll start with a bit of outside hockey news, actually. The Miami Marlins hired Kim Ng. Hope I say it right. She is the first female GM in MLB history. That is such a milestone. And to just bring it back to hockey, it's kind of embarrassing that we see a GM in baseball who is a female. And in hockey, we are barely getting scouts who are females. I believe Seattle are the only team that have staff who are females.
We're barely getting new GMs, let alone different things.
And musical chairs.
And Seattle don't have a team technically yet. They are a few staff members and a
they
logo.
survive. They exist on Twitter technically right now.
Yeah,
They still have to pay, I think, $250 million.
That's like $250 million. I'll give you double that to give the Nordiques back right now. Right now, I'll do it.
How much they paid? $750 for the team Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So double that.
Yeah.
Help me with the math here. $1.5 billion. Is it worth it?
I'll take the Coyotes. They're worth a small fraction of that. But seriously, I mean. It feels like all the sort of big four of the sports leagues are all just beefy male sweat cakes. So it's nice to really have that sort of inclusion that has really been needed in sports because it's always felt like it's the boys' locker room. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crappy it's been like that. I'll start with you, Daniel. Daniel, because you are the resident baseball guy on the show.
You were going to say Alex, weren't you?
Yeah.
I could tell.
I meant to say Daniel, but halfway through saying Daniel, I'm like, am I actually saying Daniel?
Mike, what are your thoughts? I think it's a I think it was a long time coming, not just because she's a female, but because of her expertise as well. She's been in the game for 30 years. She has 3 World Series championships as an assistant GM already. She's already been in the conversations for other general manager positions. She's been one of the candidates for the Yankees, with the Dodgers. And for her to finally get this position is, it's pretty astounding. Like what we talked about before with baseball, it's just the demographics of what they've shown with the players, with the management, with the scouting, the way the things are. It's a whole different beast when you think about it, that these things are been like, they've created a bit of a fertile ground for this to happen. And for her to finally find this position, which I find that, was well overdue, that she was one of the most overqualified people for this position. It's great to see. I was really excited to read about this on Friday. A lot of the comments were, and it's just pretty funny. I remember talking with other people about this in my class there were a lot of comments saying, oh, are you just doing this because it's like a diversity hire? Is because you just want to say, I have a female here. And one other argument is like, man, you see players who retired like a year ago. Like, I'll give Garth Snow, for example, a guy that retired and then like the next year he's a general manager.
Yeah.
Or Joe Nieuwendyk, where he retires and then I know like he was a scout here and there, but like he becomes a general manager as well. I remember when he went to Dallas. So it doesn't really
Joe
compare. Joe
Nieuwendyk was a general manager in the NHL.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
He was the one that signed Ray Whitney and Jaromir Jagr to the Stars.
Oh, well.
And he traded Derek Roy to Vancouver. I just remember those as his prominent moves.
Oh, interesting. Learn something new every day.
I mean, foreign players, you may know the game, but I mean, there's many facets being a GM.
Or, I love Martin Brodeur. I think I've said that how many times. But
let me just check. Too many.
But see it this way. He retired like 2 or 3 years before he became an assistant GM to the St. Louis Blues, and then he got a ring with them.
And he also is.
He did?
Yeah.
I thought he didn't get. I thought
he was with New Jersey by then.
Was he? Let me see.
I remember. I think it might have been his first year with New Jersey.
Was it?
That's why they were in 31st place by December. Okay. Clearly, Martin Brodeur.
He held up the job for Jordan Binnington, or at least that's what Binner says. Alex, what about your side before we go too deep into the Brodeur stuff here?
Yeah, no. Well, pretty much everything that Daniel said was kind of perfect, and it's like I was gonna bring up those comments, but I'm not gonna give them the light of day. So, but I think it's really good that you're right. Like, I think Daniel makes a good point. It seems like she's really overqualified for this job. So it's really good that she finally got it. And I just hope that, we can see some improvements in hockey. Now, obviously, with Seattle's made their own, and Alex Mandrycky and Cami Granato, I think both of them are in scouting, but still same thing.
Yeah. I believe it was Mandrycky who was with Minnesota, but Paul Fadden just kind of threw this aside. It's like, I don't need you. I think she also has some analytical backgrounds there.
Yeah.
But still, staff members nonetheless who are very qualified and were just abused by their shouldn't say abused, were very much not valued by their former establishments.
Well, that was just Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, which are
under Paul Fenton. Again, go read Michael Russo's article. You'll understand why.
He joked about Winnipeg's defense taking but a single step forward. Minnesota took a single step to the side yet again.
Yes, before we move on, yes, you were right, Alex, about the Brodeur. Fact, he did. Yeah, that was his first year with New Jersey when they won the Cup, the Blues. But again, it's a guy who became a general manager. Like an assistant general manager on the Blues right after he retired.
Right.
Now also Team Canada.
He's in a management position right now for
Team
Canada. Team Canada. It's so Team Canada too. Even though I don't think you need that much qualifications to run an international. Who are the best guys? I want them.
Do you ever think like you're always gonna need like a Hall of Fame type of guy to lead like I'm finding like Steve Yzerman, Wayne Gretzky, and then like you're gonna probably put another guy when the NHL returns to the Olympics? Like, do you always need like those marquee guys to?
You have a coach.
I think the most important when it comes to internet, this is my opinion, and I'm using soccer as a comparison. I think you need a guy who can contain their egos, because again, like Adam said, you're putting the best players for that country all in the same room, and they're gonna have huge egos. And I think that's what, in my opinion, was Real Madrid had Zinedine Zidane, who himself has an extremely big ego.
Zidane la tape, Zidane la fape. The guy who headbutted dude because the guy said something about his sick mom, didn't he?
Yeah, in the World Cup final, yeah.
Someone in France made a song about. Okay, sorry, go on.
But he himself, do I think he's the best coach in the world? No. Do I think he's a little overhyped? Yes, but he can control the rooms. He can control a room full of egos. And when you have Ronaldo, when you have all these other big superstars that Real Madrid had, you need someone to control those egos, or else they go unchecked and it's a mess. And that's why you need a good coach internationally.
I was gonna make a joke about what Team Canada values the most when you brought up like Real Madrid, Alex.
What?
And then I'm like, it's not about the ego. It's about the chemistry between the lines. That's why you see.
No, it's about
Chris Kunitz on
3 righty, 3 lefty. Damn it.
Yeah.
Well, you say what you want about Babcock, but his style, same with Barry Trotz. If you're a guy who can just fit players into the right system, because all these guys are, you bring in, like, let's just think of like the World Cup of hockey team from a few years ago. I mean, who was the worst player on there? Duchesne, who was like first line center in Ottawa, first line center in Nashville, if like worst second. Like, these are some of the best players in the world. You need to, not just their egos, you have to make them fit into a certain role. It's almost like those junior players who they don't adapt their game to the NHL and they never quite make it. But those who do, like Sam Bennett, become an even more
Neil Yakupov. What?
This is true.
Sorry.
Yeah, Neil Yakupov. But, it's like that. If you want to have that international success, you have to buy into the system. And I don't think you need a player for that. I mean, or like a Hall of Famer, because Mike Babcock never, like, I think he played university hockey.
Yeah.
But he is just like he is as a person, you can debate all you want, but as a coach, same with Barry Trotz, you could say. I believe you had him as your coach, didn't you, Daniel, on your Olympic roster? Mm-hmm. Or Joe Quenneville, the same thing. I think you just need a firm, well-structured system and a strong-headed coach. I don't think you need to have a player. It's the same as you just need a good mind. You don't necessarily need someone who played a bunch of hockey and threw a bunch of hit and punched a bunch of faces to be a general manager. Like,
no, but you need a guy who punched a bunch of faces to run Department of Player Safety. Okay, that's the line.
Also a problem.
Sorry.
If you simply just follow the rule book, if it hits the head.
No, you need someone who punched people in the head.
See, I was watching because Mike and I were talking about. We were watching some NCAA hockey, right? It was Notre Dame and Wisconsin Badgers. Go Badgers! And Cole Caulfield,
legend.
Yeah, Cole Caulfield got trampled, right? And it was a hit to the head. Somebody could in the NHL, you'd hear something about like Caulfield's a small player, right? But it was an instant hit to the head, and guess what?
But wasn't it after the shot? I saw the replay.
It was a bad hit.
Oh, okay.
I know Mike was probably saying that was a good hit, but I don't think it was. But regardless, like it was contact to the head, and guess what? Notre Dame got 5 minutes. Luckily, Wisconsin won the game, but they kept taking penalties too after that. But like, you got to get it right there. Yeah, like with player safety, it's like you need someone who can simply, with player safety, it's read the rule book and transition it into the game.
Apparently, that's very difficult.
Apparently. But wow, I mean, we've been going. Before we go even more in hockey here, let's just give a shout out to Lewis Hamilton, the British man, who has tied another Michael Schumacher record, probably the most important one. A 7-time world champion after capturing victory at the Turkish Grand Prix earlier today. Excuse me.
Wait, what city was it in?
It was in Istanbul.
Daniel.
Not Constantinople.
Anyway, I think he started like P6. Incredible. Like it was over I think it was like 40 something laps on his inter tires. It was incredible. And shout out to Sebastian Vettel also getting on the podium. Charles Leclerc threw away podium on the last few corners. God damn it, Charles. But without Mattia Binotto there, Ferrari have one of their best races of the season.
What about our boy Lance Stroll?
See, here's what sucks about Lance. He was on pole. He was great in qualifying yesterday, and for most of the race, he was very level-headed. He was cool. He was calm, and then he went in for his second pit stop to his second center inners, and he just lost it. Like his tires were graining. I think his youth really got exposed. I felt really bad for him, and I think he finished P9. Which was it was bad.
Yeah,
it was very unfortunate.
Daniel,
but Perez,
I think Daniel will like this very much. This was I believe this might have been the closest race that Albon was to Verstappen within 2 seconds.
I think the only reason they were so close, by the way, was because each of them spun about 5 times each.
They still recovered. See, these guys never give up.
Sergio Perez brings home a cool P2, was second place that entire race. Cool, calm, consistent with Sergio Perez. And that Red Bull seat, my God, please give it to him. Or Hulkenberg.
Yeah, someone. Perez.
I don't know. I wouldn't take out Max Verstappen.
Get out of here.
Poor Albon. Poor Albon.
He'll find his way.
I hope
he has the power of the Honda engine with him.
Well, for much longer they don't.
I mean, I don't know. His daily driver, according to Drive to Survive, is a Honda Civic Type R.
Probably.
Gotta love the guy. He just yes, you want me to be a fan of him, like on and off, like the circuit. Like, man,
we don't hate Alex Albon. It's just.
No.
It's going to be frustrating if he gets the seat again because Gasly just didn't get a second shot. And then this year, Christian Horner's downplayed Pierre Gasly every corner. Every corner is Christian Horner. And it's like, man, let Helmut Marko be a dick in the media like he always is. Come on, Christian. I mean, you're married to a Spice Girl. What is wrong? Why are you in such a bad mood? You have donkeys.
Wait, he is? I didn't know that.
He's married to, what's her name? Oh, I forgot. Jerry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Help me. I'm just gonna search it up because I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, she's just.
You cut out for a second.
Just did I?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's not important. Jerry Spice, as they call her. She has some other nicknames, but I'm not gonna. Some of them are pretty mean. Though, I mean, there's a few things we can sit here and talk about. Well, I guess we can do that deep dive on the stars a little later. They signed Rupe Hintz finally. First off, let's just kind of shoot here on the fact that those damn retro reverse jerseys. And I want to start off with this. Maybe each of you have a jersey you want to mention. It's been teased. We haven't seen all of them. But I want to know who has the nerve to put a fleur-de-lis on a burgundy jersey. Because that original Nordiques jersey is one of the best jerseys of all time. And if you have the nerve to make it burgundy, how dare it better be the best damn jersey I've ever seen.
Did they not have it before?
It's never been burgundy.
Yeah, because I don't see the Winnipeg Jets with a Thrasher.
You don't
on them.
see Arizona with Winnipeg.
Yeah.
No, but did Colorado not have a jersey with that? Because my understanding is all these retro review jerseys are supposed to be based off of previous jerseys that the team has had.
They have never in the Colorado Avalanche instance. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Daniel. You're a little older than us, but I don't think they've ever had any BS Nordiques inspired stuff in the burgundy.
I don't. No, they haven't. I just remember the foot.
Yeah, they've had but the foot is like a Yeti.
Yeah, which I actually found funny because when Adam Foote left for Columbus, I'm like, that just doesn't work for me anymore.
To be a Hall of Famer. But you guys, Alex, has there maybe been a sort of teaser of a jersey that you want to mention here? Because it's just.
I do. I'd like to see. I want to see what Carolina does because I know it looks like they're going down the Hartford route.
Again,
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing those jerseys. I will not say the Leafs. Okay.
Fair enough. I mean, we can talk about them in a second. I mean, and Anaheim, I'm guessing, Daniel, you're not allowed. We can't say our own team. So, Daniel, besides the like retro best jersey,
I actually want I won't say
That one I want to see. That.
I will not deny nor confirm I will buy that jersey on the first day, but I just have to talk about one thing about it. It's apparently a rumor that it's going to be Wild Wings smashing through the ice, and I've been waiting for that for so long because that original jersey that they only really used for one season is going for like $2,000 or $3,000 on eBay.
Oh my god!
Can we just talk about how this is basically a cash grab and it's just?
Oh yeah,
it is, and it's baiting me. It got me. It got me. I'm like, I already knew it. I'm like, I should really save money. We never really know with this thing, and then these things come out, and you reel me right back in. I need to buy a jersey now that I know I don't need.
Good point, man. I don't really. I'm not excited. Montreal's just seem because you can't really redo Montreal's logo because it's been the same logo for 100+ years.
Yeah,
10+ years, and it looks like they're just going instead of the red as the primary color, we're just flipping the blue. Maybe they go like the weird like CAC one, but I don't know. What about like I haven't even looked at the Leafs one. I'm assuming they got released today, right?
No, nothing's been like released. These are the worst teases I've seen in my life. I think I said Mike asked how long it'd be until they get released. I'm like, I go in at least another week.
I mean, it just released.
It's supposed to be their 1970 jersey, I think. I mean, I think they're. Let me just see.
I'm looking at the teaser now, and it's like, okay, well, most of
it looks like a
normal.
Daryl Sittler type jersey.
Back, like you can see the shoulder. It's got like the white sort of the shoulder with the blue maple leaf on it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like that. I really hope they don't use that garbage Leafs logo where it's like the tight the you know what I mean, the one before 2016.
The very sort of
the very like cookie cutter type one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's very.
When I say though, like the Montreal one, I'm looking back at some of the old ones that I really did like, and I actually like the Heritage Classic one.
Which one is the Heritage Classic?
That one was it was the one where like the C was white.
Which year are you talking about?
I just see the picture of it, but it's probably a few years ago because Pacioretty's still the captain. Subban is still there.
Wait. Is it mostly white and like behind the white C is all blue?
Yes.
Okay, that's the 2015 win. That's my favorite Canadian.
Yeah, I like that one. If they had something similar like that, I'm like,
so sick. It is such a nice jersey, except it's white, so I would never get one because it's.
Alex and I would get Ryan Paling on that.
Yeah,
Why would I get Ryan Paling?
Yeah, it's better than the NHL 100 one Montreal had, where it's just the CH and like the big white background. That and they got destroyed that game, and Drew had a terrible turnover the last few minutes. Yeah.
Was he playing center?
Probably.
Might have been. I think he was. It was against.
That was 5 years ago. My God.
That was the same weekend when Melnick was going on, but that's what started the whole Melnick thing of like,
yes,
I might throw the team. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah, because no one was showing up to games.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the entire Ottawa fan base blew up, and they're like, okay, well, show up to games, and maybe he won't sell it to move the team.
Funny idea.
No.
But
let's hear it.
When we are able to travel and see each other within a 6 feet distance, not wearing a mask, and we actually eat in front of each other. Mm-hmm. We should do a 2-on-1 podcast vlog of us going to a Sens game.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, look, like all the space around.
Did you just pick the Sens because we can get lower bowl tickets for like extremely dirt cheap?
Yeah, it's not that far from Toronto. I mean, Alex and I could just swing past Montreal, get Adam, and then we'll go to the game. We'll drive to Ottawa.
That Ottawa is before.
Yeah, I know.
Montreal,
well,
right?
we have to get Adam first.
We'd have to do a U-turn.
Boomerang.
Yeah, we do boomerang. That's
a C.
Yeah. Look at that. Right. We were hoping for more exact details when it comes to NHL return to play for the 2021 season. Sorry. God dang it.
I
More
saw,
ahead.
yeah, I
Well,
saw
go
Will
ahead.
Baldwin's tweet about the horse, the Flames horse. That's such a classic throwback to me.
We're just gonna okay. Well, I guess we can rewind.
Oh, sorry, I just thought of like the
Yeah. So yeah, if Calgary go back to their horse saying he's gonna go back to being a Flames fan, and then Riley gave him crap for it, which is really funny. You say it's like this is such a 2020 sports.
See, the retro jersey hype is baiting everybody,
Oh, of course.
whether or not you cover basketball exclusively or not.
Taking a shot at the at Missio Eye opener.
No, it's
A
just
little
like
bit,
I
a
know,
little
like
bit.
Will is like an expert with basketball. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's very maybe it's just for me. Like for me, the nostalgia strings are there where when you see one guy look back on his childhood and say like, man, like I have to get this jersey now, even though like he doesn't always watch hockey. Like it's it's a great thing. Like I've had people message me about the Mighty Ducks jersey, and like these guys, some of them are not even hockey fans.
Yeah.
They just remember like the Ducks they tweeted just the patch of the Mighty Ducks with the teal behind it, and then everyone went nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
So like I haven't seen Vancouver's, but I don't think they're doing the black jersey again for this theme,
That grew on me.
which is a crime. Yeah, I really like it. Which no offense to the blue and sort of green, but I mean no offense, but it's just not as good as the other jerseys.
Or the Orca.
Or I had a mini stick growing up, but it was a goalie mini stick, and it was a Longo one with the Orca on it. And I love Orcas.
Random story about the Orca. So
You
remember Zellers?
Stomp at Marineland. Yeah.
Remember Zellers?
Yes.
Yes, that was great. So I remember throughout my whole childhood, up until like I went to high school, before they closed the Zellers near my house. That was the one at Center Point, Alex.
Yeah.
Young and Steels.
Yeah.
There was a Mark Messier toy on the Canucks from like the 90s that just never sold. It was always there. But I'm like, in my head, I always thought of Mark Messier on the Rangers or the Oilers. I'm like, wait, this guy was on Vancouver?
I can do you one better, Daniel. If you go to there's Sport Check, the one at Hillcrest Mall. This is a few years ago. Full price, Dion Phaneuf Leafs jersey. This is after he was traded with the C. Full price.
It's the added money for the C that kept the value up.
I mean, I think hockey players value the C's a lot more than we do, to be honest. But I love it.
We should do a deep dive of like just buying these things and like finding them.
All right, can we claim that as a tax thing?
Yes, we will.
Okay,
Maybe.
cool. But that is an expense as well for the mics and that. Right though, if it's okay with you, Daniel, I'd like to.
Yeah, sorry. Just the when you say buzzwords for retro, throwback, it just gets me going.
That's where we
it just
get
like
off
I need to
topic.
talk about these things. Yeah,
Retro reverse. So
retro, reverse,
like how it
nostalgia,
was-
Mighty Ducks.
I like how they
gets me.
stole our title and they just changed one word.
It's kind of.
I'm just saying we had retro review first.
I know.
I'm just saying.
You also gotta love. I completely forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. Okay, we're moving on.
Okay.
You just love to see it.
You love to see exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to go look
Oh my
at a Scott Burnside little article here from The Athletic. I'm going to read you a few snippets here. We're going to go through when it comes to return to play. Nothing is set in stone, but we're inching closer and closer and closer to some details here. And I'll just read you little snippets and we can talk about the most important stuff. I'm not going to read the financial things of owners paying kickbacks because I don't think that's very interesting to talk about right now, though it is very important, but it is very boring to listen to. This isn't a math class, so I'm not going to put people through that. Right, so the big question that's really been around is how many games are going to be played. So I'll just read two little snippets of the article here. from Scott Burnside. Quote, one longtime league executive said he thought the NHL would go for 48 games, but other sources have said the number is too low in order to fulfill responsibilities with broadcast partners, both national and local, plus sponsors. I dropped a pen. Multiple sources on Thursday's call felt that the number would have to be between 60 and 70. Now, a big reason, and this is me, I'm stopping with the article here, that we can't really look for an 82 game series is A, the schedule is already compressed enough, and B, the Olympics. The NHL need to be done by July. Like, that is non-negotiable here.
Well, they don't need to be. NBC would highly prefer it. And I think if the NHL is smart, they kiss NBC's ass so they get a nice new TV deal that brings in the money.
They have to. Like, let's be honest. Like, they have to bend over backwards for NBC here.
So we're going to see a lot of back-to-back playoff games again.
We're going to see a lot of back-to-back regular season games.
We're going to see teams with 4 goalies.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're allowed to carry 4 goalies.
Oh, yeah. So I guess if we're looking between 60 and 70 games, I'm trying to remember, where did we even project games at?
I said 65.
I said 48, but I guess. I go ahead, Adam. Sorry, you didn't.
That's fair. Because were you going for the more? You made sense though, because I think you compared it to the lockout because that was half a season and it was around there. So I think we all had pretty good.
We had different answers.
Yeah, but I think we all had pretty good points though.
Yeah. So just I guess to add on to what you were saying there, I believe another reason they want to have the owners specifically want to have a longer season compared to a shorter one is because the players are supposed to get 72% of their money like paid. So the more they play, the more potential money that the owners can gain through whatever revenue, sponsorships. If we have fans in stands, whatever that may be. So that's why they want a longer one as well. Compared to 48, you're playing just over half the games, but they're getting paid 75% of their contract. So that's another reason.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, anything you want to, sort of sprinkle on here on this little cake?
To be honest, I think it's what we've mentioned before on the show about whether or not the length, like how the length of the season is gonna go. I think I said 65 or 54, just these random numbers I thought of because I remember the 2013 lockout, it was 48 games, and it seemed like it was okay. Like I know that there was that joke that people said, the Leafs could only make the play. I mean, they made the playoffs already a few times already
somehow,
but I remember during that stretch people said they only could make it in a shortened season because there's no end of the season like collapse. But
that is true.
Yeah. As long as they get over the 41, I'm okay. I'm still thinking of 65 more so because I think that's what the league kind of wants is they still want to have some semblance of a full season. But what we said before, I think that the rules need to kind of change what we said to the expanded rosters.
Yes.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, it's like the expanded rosters and more or less like I don't know, like we still have to figure out the AHL stuff too. That's kind of something that I've been thinking about that I want to know more details about moving forward.
I thought they're starting February 1st.
They are. It's just I don't know how like because like how some teams have their minor league system in like the US.
Oh yes,
kind of like what's gonna happen with like, for example, the hypothetical expanded rosters. Like, do you keep the guys in? You keep like 12 guys in the press box. Like, what do you do?
Right.
Because you can't send them back. You can't send them across the border.
Yeah. Do you know what's not being talked about? And I'm very surprised isn't being talked about. The 2022 Olympics.
Yeah.
So you're gonna play you're gonna play 65 game season from January, just hypothetically, right? From January to July plus playoffs. You're going to have July, August, September off, assuming we're starting back again in October. And then you're going to go to the Olympics in January.
Yeah, but that's not a lot of players going. That's not a lot of the
Right,
league.
but
That's
I understand, but the star players are going, and that is a lot of hockey for them to play over that period of time, especially if they're playing if they want, if the league wants to play, was the number 72 or whatever,
between like 60 and 70.
right? So they're going to play that. So they're going to play 70 game season and playoffs in already a condensed schedule. You have to be done before July 15th. That includes the draft, that and probably the expansion draft. And if they're smart, just the very first day of free agency.
Well, and that's on the players because they're the ones who won't.
Right, absolutely. But that's what I'm saying. It's not being like from a player's perspective. It doesn't seem to be the quote unquote sources that these guys have from the player's perspective aren't bringing up the Olympics. And I know it's a small number of players, but they're also the most influential players in that room.
Plus the
It's
training camp.
2 years away. It's like when I asked Elliot Friedman when we went to 31 Dots, like, why aren't we talking about Seattle? He's like, well, it's not far away. I think it's like if you.
Well, it's a year. It's just a year away. It's not even 2 years away anymore. We're in November of 2020. It's at the beginning of 2022.
If you have a mountain of laundry in front of you, you don't worry about the top of the mountain. You do what's at your feet first. I think.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's just I think you rather worry about the issues you have now. Because, I mean, we don't even know when we're going to have fans in the arena. I don't think you can quite – you need to worry about the season you're trying to start in a few months rather than a season down. Like, it is important, but, I mean, like, for 2021, I think instead of worrying about the players' fatigue and that, you also have to worry about, like, Seattle and that. Like, there's a lot they have to get through. And I think you just – maybe what they're thinking is, you know what, I just got to take this one step at a time, you know? It's a very fair point to make, though, Alex. Like – careers are going to be shortened for the amount of, you know what, I almost said condensation. That's a completely wrong word. From the compression that we're going to have over the next few years.
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal. Sorry to kind of, just because we still have a few more to get to for return to play here. The Canadian division.
Canada.
Now, what's interesting about a lot of this is, if you look at the NBA, the Raptors are going to looks like they have to find someone to play. The Jays play most of their stuff in Buffalo, obviously. So you can kind of understand these are points that Scott Burnside sort of makes. Of course, I'm not reading everything because we want you to go check out The Athletic. Writers need to be paid. It's fantastic content. So it kind of gives more credence and, of course, the obvious of traveling in the midst of the pandemic. So and for all these sort of reasons, it's, again, nothing confirmed, but it's very fair to say this is why the NHL will go with the sort of all-Canadian division. And I'll read one snippet from this section. To cut down on travel, regardless of which side of the border teams are playing on, look for teams to play multiple games in cities like baseball. So, for instance, Montreal might fly to Vancouver and play 2 or 3 games. Go to Calgary and Edmonton and do the same for returning home. Now, what I really like about this, guys, is I think this can do wonders for rivalries again. Like these mini sort of series, and I really like that. I really like that. It makes perfect like health and safety sense to just sort of go in and get many games in. But let's go, lads.
And I don't think this is the reason they're doing it, but I think we can all admit I don't necessarily think hockey is as popular in this country as it was 20 years ago.
I've had that conversation. A lot of profs and writers, sports writers. Yeah, I could feel that too. Right.
So I think this is a great way to grow. And I think I brought this up on here before. It's a great way to grow the game, grow your audience in this country, because at the end of the day, with the exception of some of the good teams in the US, the Tampa Bays, the bigger teams, the Rangers, the Red Wings, the original 6 teams that are coming up from the US, when a team comes to Toronto, when a Canadian team comes to Toronto, in my opinion, more people care about that than when Arizona comes, or when Dallas comes, or when the Panthers come, or when whoever the hell comes.
Yeah, it's like when news miraculously breaks Saturday night. Well, it's because everyone's tuning into Hockey Line Canada. It's the mecca sort of thing there. Daniel, you're a baseball guy. What do you kind of see that a baseball sort of mini season series can really do? Like, do you really get that hatred even if it's the regular season in the series? Like, make sure I'm not sort of overshooting here.
No, I think it makes perfect sense, especially based on how the restrictions are going to be. I think it's going to be fun. What I kind of feel like when it comes to a baseball series, like you really get to know the other team, you get to know the opponent, or it's just like not, like for example, one guy has a one-off game. For example, like Frederick Anderson, he has an okay game, but then like Jack Campbell comes in, and then it's like, okay, it's a whole different thing, but it doesn't necessarily like cause anything where you say, okay, now we can't rely on one person or the other. And if we actually see the expanded rosters, we're going to see more of these like quote unquote utility guys get a chance to play. That we're going to see more, more of a dynamic in how the lineups are built now. And I think it's going to be more exciting, like with the baseball, especially in the National League, when you have to think about your pitcher batting instead of a designated hitter, which is coming back in 2021, which I'm kind of excited about because I prefer that. But, it's just a whole different strategy you have to think about now where, okay, I give this guy how much time to play. What am I going to do now? How am I going to fill in these little spots? So I think that it's going to just be more of a creative aspect to it. And when I think about what you said, the rivalries with things, I like it. I remember, I think it was like a joke, but I remember when I went back to the older NHL games and you hear what the announcers talk about. A big thing about it in the early 2000s was the battle of English versus French Canada, which I want to see again with the Leafs and the Habs. And another thing too is if I go back to like the mid 2000s and it's like the Battle of Ontario and how the announcers change their tone with things. Like I want to see more competition again with Ottawa and Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all want that. You know what? There, unfortunately for a lot of Western teams, like we only get to see the Canadians and the Leafs play a team like the Sharks once at home per year. Right? It sucks. Like I want to watch McDavid and the Canadians more often. And that's what we're gonna get, which is I think it's gonna do wonders also because a lot of people know who Sidney Crosby is. Not a lot of people know who Connor McDavid is. Not a lot of people know who Elias Pettersson is. And this can really, really help. And it's gonna be so fun if we get the season, which I'm hoping we do, guys. Of course, there's stuff I'm going to leave out because, again, read the article. They talk about the possibility of bubbles, playoff formats, all that sort of stuff. Check out Scott Burnside's interview. Sorry, I wrote that in the notes too. It's a damn article, Adam. Right.
I suddenly just thought of, we're going to see more Elias Pettersson against Connor McDavid. That's just one example.
Oh, I'll take it. Oh, it's going to be so
unfortunately, we're not going to see Matthew Tkachuk versus Drew Doughty too much.
No, but we're going to have Tkachuk. We're going to have Tkachuk and
Cassian.
Yeah.
The Oilers and the Flames they're not going to make it in, like, if they make it into the playoffs, they're not going to go far because they are going to kill each other over the season. It is going to be amazing. Oh, it's going to be, oh boy. Oh boy. Who is excited? We got two little articles I want to look at also from The Athletic. We're going to look at the agent survey and front office rankings. Which do you guys want to check out first?
Front office.
Front office? You good with that, Dan? We're all good? All right. So this is Stom Decision's annual article when he gets fans and the public to come rank and vote on the confidence of NHL teams, their franchise, their management. He looks at the ability of roster management, cap management, draft development, trading, free agency, vision. There's public opinion and the fan base's opinion. I don't know about you guys, but this is an article I look forward to every single year. And I don't read all of Dom's stuff. I'm not a huge fan of all of his stuff, but this article is always a banger. Coming in at number 31, guys, we won't look at every team, but I think we should look at the highlights. Yeah. And Dom does say here that timing is everything. The lowest ranking team in terms of confidence, guys, who could it be? Who do you think it is?
I know who it is, so I'll let Daniel guess.
I think we already know who it is.
Oh, okay.
Have you guys both read all of it?
No.
I know, but the way you framed it, we already know. Like, we've talked about this How many times? You know, like even
It's
obviously-
Arizona.
yes.
Yeah.
Just keep losing draft picks.
They lost their first through fourth round picks this year. They drafted the Mitchell Miller situation, which we have covered extensively. What's really interesting about this is the sort of rating I believe is a scale of like 0 to I think it's 4 or 5. Just to look at the comparisons, you either go to I believe it's up to 5. So the scale of 0 to 5, 1 to 5, whatever you want to see it. The Arizona Coyotes, their fan base confidence is actually lower, which I find kind of funny because it feels like you're always a bit biased to their team. Their fan base had an average score of 1.4.
Good God.
Oh.
Draft and Develop
Oof.
actually had the highest score at 1.6. And when it came to, because I feel like everyone still thinks the Coyotes can draft well, when I think, I don't know if they can.
Yeah.
So who have they drafted?
Barrett Hayden.
Yeah. And who?
Clayton Keller.
Braden Keller. Christian
like-
Fisher.
OEL.
Christian Dvorak.
Okay, wait, so let's just go through those names. Keller had one good season. He's been underwhelming since. OEL, okay, great. A Christian
Yeah.
Fisher. What is Christian Fisher, though?
Middle
He's a-
six.
Does he move? Yeah, I mean, like, it's
No, character guy, you know.
I'm not,
Good
I'm
character
not
guy
arguing.
gets pucks deep.
I won't argue that they are good. They're great at drafting.
I don't think they're
I'll
good at
say that.
drafting. Even like the past two, like their first round picks have been kind of like, okay, like, you know, like guys that I even liked that I wish panned out, like Braden Gormley. He didn't really, or Brandon Gormley, sorry. He didn't really do much. Or there were a team that also rushed their draft picks too. So I maybe there's that side to that as well.
Barrett Hayden looks good. It's just, will he look in 2-3 years? Dylan Strome's another example of that. Coming in at number 30, we have Chicago. If you guys want to say anything about that, I mean,
I've said more than enough.
yeah, Daniel, anything you want to say about Chicago?
Confident for them in a way because I've actually because like Stan Bowman, I used to think he didn't know how to draft, and then he kept the picks that I don't think he should have kept, but then he traded the ones that he should have kept. Like I know sometimes we talk a lot about losing Artemi Panarin,
Yeah.
but we never really like mentioned like this guy sold Tervel Teravainen to get rid of Brian Bickle's contract.
That's one of the worst ones. That Teravainen looks amazing in Carolina. Buffalo is 29th, which is their highest sort of score here is actually free agency, probably because Taylor Hall wanted to pad his stats for a year. And we've talked about them a ton. Pittsburgh is at 28th.
Wow. Well, yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry, you don't trade 15th overall for Kasperi Kapanen.
Yeah.
that plus, no offense, but why Matt Murray started against the Canadians and Malkin couldn't do anything.
Yeah, but that's not front office, is it?
I know, but like it's more of like if you look at the results of your team,
Mhm.
it's like playoffs are massive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's if you don't have the opportunity to play in them, it's just I think like coupled with the loss and then Jim Rutherford's then reaction to try and improve the team was then all right. What did he do? And again, it's the Kapanen deal. And then I think he just kind of moved some garden chairs around. It was
I remember
Mike
looking.
Matheson,
Yeah.
Cody Ceci.
yeah.
Listen, they couldn't get a first round pick for Matt Murray, but they did get a very early second round pick.
Yep.
I think, right? So I guess that's kind of good consolation prize considering the trade market really is. I don't even know what it is, but what else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
27th to San Jose. Their fan base gave trading a 4, which I mean, at the top of my head, I'm thinking, what trades did they make? And I'm like, oh, Barclay Goodrow.
Yeah.
But then, but beside that, their fan base was a lot nicer. Like cap management, their lowest score when it came to the public perception. That makes sense. Like Carlson deal, that does not
Classic. Birds.
them losing Couture as a result. Not Couture, sorry. I'm losing Pavelski as a result of that.
Losing Joe Thornton.
That's going to hit their locker room really hard.
Yeah.
I think.
Did they bring back Marlowe? Is that Yes, they did.
Yeah, they brought him back.
And what did they do to fix their goaltending?
Devin.
They got Devin Dubnyk.
26 is Florida.
That's a tad low for me.
I
think Bill Zito's made some sneaky good moves.
I think if it was last year, then I'm like, yeah, for sure. But I think, with Billy Zito this year, it's like, okay, they've been okay.
Well, I think it's more like the entire year. Actually, no, because a lot of it is react. It's timing, right? Yeah, see, with that, then I think, because he has made some decent, maybe it's because they've lost Dadonov and it looks like they're going to lose Hoffman. All of a sudden, you lose that offense. No offense, is the likes of,
it's two players that offense.
But they bring in 50 goals.
Right. Yeah.
I know, and then they traded Vincent Trocheck.
Yeah, is Alex Wenberg gonna? It's not just in Bill Zito himself.
Right.
It's more just.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right.
It, right.
When you dump that whatever that contract of Mike Matheson is, good enough.
I like the Patrick Hornqvist. That's a character guy. It reminds me of Eric Stahl going to Buffalo. It's like a character guy that knows how to, be that person that kind of sets the locker room straight.
Yeah, we knew they were going to have a bad free agency that would affect it, but you would think after their playoff run, Vancouver was going to get some more grace, and then everyone left. Of course, drafting and developing, it looks like the fan base gave just under a lower score when it came to draft and development than public opinion did give a 4. But free agency, they got destroyed. We know they got destroyed. We had Harmon on. We can plenty. Don't need to touch that.
I thought Joy Stretcher, what I kind of felt with him was I thought the fact that Chris Tanev was gone meant Troy Stretcher was going to be kept.
Yeah, that was bad. That was really, really bad. Nashville is 24th. I don't think we need to go. It's Nashville. Who cares? Apparently, cap management for them is 3.6. Whatever. Ryan Johansson is something you say, but
they were pretty good at the draft, though.
Great. I hope you drafted a few centermen. 23rd is Anaheim.
Yeah, I'll let Daniel take that one.
I think, I don't know why. I think it was more of not what they did, but what they didn't do is why they're lower.
The vision is a part of this is not seeing the vision of the team.
Because, I admit that going into 2017 when they made it to the conference finals, that I really felt like that was the final push they had with that core. But I don't think that had to sell off everything right away. They still made the playoffs the next year. And they've been dealt a hand where they never got a top 5 pick. Where I'm not being biased to defend it, but I'm just saying that they've drafted pretty well with the hand they've been given. Yeah. Troy Terry in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Lucas Dostal in the 4th round.
The thing that confuses me is you go out and sign Kevin Shattenkirk for 3 years.
That one kind of
What? And I see I understand what's the vision of this team.
There was decisions also adds here. I don't understand them trading Kasha. It's a strong sign for Shattenkirk. It makes a little sense when looking at the decision the Ducks should make. Shouldn't they be rebuilding? They're sputtering around the league's basement instead of committing to the team or to what the team.
I think they're gonna wait until Ryan Kessler's off. His contract's gone. Patrick Eves just expired, and then honestly, they're gonna wait until Ryan Getzlaf retires, and then they can finally say, okay, we have all.
Dangerous move.
Because the way I see I love Trevor Zegras, but I don't think that he is just going to be that top center guy that I think he's going to become, but not someone that's going to just step into it. He's going to be like a Sean Couturier.
Let's not act like Zegras, that the Getzlaf is just the old man, huh? He's still nasty.
He's still pretty dominant.
Yeah. I think my worry with the team is because I don't see what they're doing, I worry that they're going to end up like Minnesota, just in the middle of the league, and then you're going to end up having to do this rebuild. You have these guys that you can rebuild around. I'm yes, you don't trade Ryan Getzlaf. I don't think that's the right move.
That's a legacy guy,
right? But you just have all these guys. I look at this team: Henrique, Silverberg. Backus fine, but then the rest of them, Derek Grant, great bottom 6 guy, Carter Rowney, Nick Delorier, but fill the bottom six with young guys? Like, are you rebuilding or are you trying to be mid tiers? That's the thing I'm getting from this team.
They're still playing like that through the mud, like, drag them through the mud type of play, which has worked for them so well when you mixed it in with skill. But now it's just kind of like, that bottom six becoming a bit too bare bones. And what I kind of feel is, they have these skilled guys that they've been really cautious with. Like, Sam Steele, like, we would have one or two bad games, and they're like suddenly, okay, you're not on the team. Like, we're gonna send you back to San Diego. I think now is the time for patience with that. Like, don't keep going back and forth with all these guys, especially Maxime Comtois, where he could complement the bottom six.
Absolutely. Next up, talk about a team that its fan base is much higher than public perception. Edmonton is at 22nd, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't have a single score above 3 from public perception. Their lowest score was a 2.9. That was trading from the fan base. Everything else is above 3. And it seems to be a lot of the comments I'm seeing here in the Decisions article is actually praising Tom, bringing in Mr. Holland. I almost called him Tom. It's not Tom Holland. It's Ken Holland. And there's a really funny quote I just want
His
to
son, Tom Holland.
Yeah, quote, dumping Chiarelli was the best thing Edmonton has done in a decade. Jury is still out on how Holland does, but it's starting to look promising. Not going to be overly optimistic. Even though, what has he actually done? Except to kind of blew the Athanasiou stuff. But
I was going to say that, yeah.
Sure. I think with anything is better than Chiarelli.
I mean, yeah.
Right? I think that's a really low bar to put. But so I do give some credit, I guess, to Holland. Like, I think prior to the pandemic, I think Edmonton were going to make the playoffs. And I think adding an Athanasiou and adding Mike Green would potentially be good moves. And I think hopefully you would have brought back Athanasiou with a rising cap. But again, that's not the world we're living in. The issue I have with this team is, again, what were the main things that were wrong with this team?
All right, technical difficulties aside, the weather is kind of crazy in Ontario for the two lads here. But Alex, you were going on about deadline deals for Edmonton.
Yeah, I think what Ken Holland did at the deadline was good, considering they needed depth wingers or depth forwards. And, it doesn't hurt to get a depth defenseman. It's really unfortunate that Mike Green didn't go to the play-in. And it's unfortunate that he decided to retire and they couldn't qualify Andreas Athanasiou because the cap didn't go up. But what he did in the offseason in my opinion, didn't fix the issue with this team. Mm-hmm. They didn't fix the issue with defense. You brought in Tyson Barrie because Oscar Klefbom is going to be out for the next season, and you need a power play quarterback, but Tyson Barrie isn't good at defense. Like, I thought we figured this out.
They just sort of leaked goals against Chicago in the play-in round.
Right. So they didn't fix that. And then instead of addressing their goaltending issue, they went out and brought back Mike Smith after failing to get Markstrom.
Mm. They really swung and missed there. Daniel, before we realized when the call lagged out that it stopped recording, I'd ask you your thoughts on Edmonton. So try again.
Yeah. I agree with Alex where, running it back with Mike Smith is going to be really questionable. It's something that I think that they should have refreshed with the back end already, especially with Tyson Barrie as well. I still like the guy, but for the responsibilities going to get in Edmonton, it doesn't look good to me. It doesn't look like it's going to be something where he's going to excel in that primary role as a power play quarterback. Like we didn't see it in Toronto. He started to lose it in Colorado, where it was a bit more of a controlled system. And now I think Edmonton is going to put him there for the sake of putting him there. Like those trades, like for an Oilers team that had to continue to build depth, they still want to keep stockpiling the cupboards. To the Mike Green one, that's excusable. But the Athanasiou one, like those 2 second-round picks, that is, we just never know with the picks, but to kind of lose it like that and not really get much out of Athanasiou was really disappointing for me to see. the one silver lining I had, and I mentioned it before, and it was Cal Turris. I think that he needed a new environment. He's a pretty solid depth center, and he's someone that may surprise you, I think, with the Oilers, that, he's going to be somewhere where he doesn't have that huge contract expectations anymore. He's not in the team like Nashville where, they're kind of scrambling to kind of think like, is our window closing? I think that he could kind of pace himself, especially with Draisaitl and McDavid taking, and, Nugent Hopkins here and there, taking most of like that center time. So yeah, I think Cal Turris, something positive out of this offseason for the Oilers.
Yeah, just to build off of Daniel's point quickly, I wouldn't say Ken Holland's offseason was a failure. Like, I really liked Dominic Cahoon and Kyle Turris as signings. I think it brings the forward depth. But they have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Their issues were never offense. Their issues were always defense. And I feel like they failed to address that properly.
And they haven't signed Ethan Bear yet either.
That too. And I believe they're over the cap.
Right. We'll just go through the next sort of three teams really quickly here. Ottawa, up from second last in the previous season, is up to 21st. Good for them. Strongest point drafting and developing. I mean, what a wicked draft. New Jersey, after swinging and missing after being the kings of the offseason last year, are at 20th. And then Calgary, we'll do a little talking point here. Free agency, people were kind of low on. I guess the sort of Tanev getting a bit too much money. Markstrom's contract might be a problem in a few years. But Calgary, they're one of the quotes here is talking about how, according to the public, the Flames possess by far the most ordinary front office, which is a team that is sort of struggling to take that next step. I don't think you would like to hear that said about your brain trust.
You don't move the dial too much with how they are. I think that a lot of people remember when we were talking about, like, are they going to trade Johnny Gaudreau? I think like the Flames are just kind of like, we're pretty settled where we are. If I just make one point about New Jersey and Ottawa, I think that's been great for them, but just don't touch anything. Like, develop your guys. Like, just don't move anything around, and they'll be okay.
Okay.
I feel like you were calling out Eugene Melnyk there. I'm just saying. Just to comment on Calgary, this is just my prediction. If the Calgary Flames fail again this season, Brad Treliving is fired, and they don't blow up the team, but one of Monahan or Gaudreau are traded.
I think it's fair. Trade Monahan, not Gaudreau. I'll do that.
Well, Gaudreau is
a first line center. Is Sean Monahan a first line center?
No.
Is Elias Lindholm?
No. They're just.
I think Elias Lindholm is a first line. Like, he could be a first line winger.
It's just they could be like very good second liners. It's just in center. I mean, like Alex is like, obviously when that line was first put together, like when it was Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm, it was fire. But truly, they never caught that lining in the bottle. 18 is Minnesota. The fan base, interestingly, are extremely high on really Bill Guerin and what he's come into. Decisions did make a reference to the Michael Russo article, but Minnesota are just so meh. The team I really want to talk about here, 17th. Take a guess who is 17th. And it feels like especially the fan base is a lot lower than the public, except cap management, which we're in the middle of. And this team might surprise you.
Philadelphia?
Is it?
It is an Eastern Conference team.
Is it a team that is close to this podcast?
In a way. It's not one of the main three, but
okay.
In a backward sort of way. This is a team that is close to our hearts, not in a good way, but it is there.
Oh, the Boston Bruins.
The Boston Bruins. Okay. They're 17th. The fan base cannot stand the idea of drafting the development. Very critical on free agency. I think it's really the Torrey Krug stuff, that sort of saga, and the fact that they have not replaced his sort of offensive ability. And I mean, I wonder if there are questions about the secondary scoring because unfortunately Andre Kasha never scored a goal. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe that's the concern, but I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anyone next year if Craig Smith can pot 20, Kasha can do 20. Maybe those guys sort of pick it up. But I mean, there are I don't know if this is just me seeing this. I've been reading stuff and listening to stuff, and it feels like a lot of people are counting out the Bruins next year. And I don't know if that's a very smart. I know I joked about Bergeron falling off next year. He's not going to. No. But are people being way too harsh on the Bruins?
So okay, Daniel, you can go first.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No.
I kind of think on paper, people are going to look at what they were in 2018, 2019 and say, yeah, they're definitely weaker. Like they relied so long on these name brand guys to build up their core. And then suddenly you'll see a few ruptures here and there. And then you see the David Krejci comments about, man, it's disappointing. We have 2 or 3 years left with this core. And to me, what I kind of think is they kind of know that, they are still a pretty reliable team, but, the pieces are not there anymore. They're not in a way that and I may eat my words, I don't know, but I think with the second wave of their prospects, they just don't really have that guy. I could kind of say, yeah, that guy is going to fill in what they lost with Torrey Krug, what they lost with, what they have offensively. Like this is a guy that's going to help them get to where they need to go. And then the David Pastrnak injury, that's just something that's just a huge blow.
That is a very good point. But man, Boston fans they got some high standards there. They really do. 16th, sorry, did you say something else?
No, I was just going to say, I think there's more than one thing than just a Torrey Krug thing. I think especially that fan base is really down on Tuukka Rask because of what happened. And I'm not going to use the word I was going to use. They're just not into it. And Patrice Bergeron's a year older. And Daniel made a really good point. Their next set of prospects, because of how good they've been, their next set of prospects aren't necessarily as good as Bergeron, as good as Marchand, as good as the rest of the crew. So, you bring in Craig Smith, you bring in Charlie Coyle, you bring in Andre Kasha. What are they supposed to be alongside DeBrusk and Pastrnak, your next set of guys after, especially Bergeron, because he's 3 years older than Marchand. Marchand, I mean, I'd argue has a few more years left. I don't know what are we expecting from Patrice Bergeron? The guy's literally injured, and for good on him, obviously, because he's 35 and he is still the best. Sorry, I don't know what beeps, and he's still probably the one of the top, if not the best two-way center in the game. Mm-hmm. How long can you expect this man to be that at the age of 35 and punctured lungs and broken ribs and arms and legs? The guy's on pins and needles.
Without Pastrnak, he's going to play 36 minutes, 37 minutes.
Probably. 16th is the Islanders. Big criticism is cap management and free agency. We've talked about that before. Same with Winnipeg at 15th. The biggest thing with them is free agency. I guess maybe they wanted a good defenseman. 14th, though. I'm happy that this team is at 14th because they have been at the bottom for a few years now. The Montreal Canadiens are 14th. And it seems to be where faith mostly is drafting and development, both from the public and the Canadian. Funny enough, with drafting and developing, the Canadians and the public have the same sort of view. Roster building, public gave a 3.3. The fan base themselves went 3.9. A team that good reviews on both sides. The fan base has been especially high on. And I think it's because just some of the moves that they made just made the fan base just so happy that maybe they are going a bit much here. So the stuff Dom says here is a lot of faith comes from Bergeron's trading because he's He just seems to make these moves where you're like, there's no way this is going to work out. And then they do. And it's just, and drafting and developing, of course, we've talked about it, has been a bit of it.
I still love that Toffoli signing, by the way.
Hello?
Oh, am I here?
Are we all here? Hello?
I am here.
Okay, I was scared.
Yes. Last thing, just I like the Toffoli signing a lot. I'm still a huge fan of it. Not because I got it right, but just because I like the player.
Question.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. Is Mark Bergevin good at making low to mid tier trades, but when it comes to the high end trades, it doesn't always work out?
Well, let's think about that. Well, I'd say the biggest trade he's ever made is beyond a shadow of a doubt Weber and Subban. That has worked out, but then on the other side of that coin, oh boy, Jonathan Drouin better be good this year because Sergachev is a freaking god. But then those are his two big ones, right? And he will look at the Shea Weber deal, and you see the player that Shea Weber is, and the guy who's turned into your captain. But then you look at until sort of this free agency, the issues that have been on the left side. And then you have to sort of like high-end deals. He himself would probably say, I've done better. But it's kind of split right now. It's 50-50. Then there's lower-end moves. The Galchenyuk for Domi worked out fantastic. Domi sort of lost his place on the team. The Deneau trade to get him was amazing. So, but when we don't know what's like with Josh Anderson. So mostly his moves have worked out. But for the big ones, it's been 50-50. It just
right.
It feels like if Romanov can really pan out, then you kind of have this idea of you start forgetting about it, about like the Sergachev deal. But again, Weber's worked out, and that was a move that if it didn't, Bergevin would not be here today, which is lucky. So I think you got to give him credit on. Listen, when his trades so far, I'm not hating any of them. Maybe it's because I love Jonathan Drouin, but like Weber's been so fantastic for this team. Hopefully you see what Anderson turns into. But when Domi was here, he was a completely different player than he was in Arizona. So, and again, he robbed another great move. He robbed the Oilers of Jeff Petrie.
Yeah.
Imagine that team with Jeff Petrie right now, the Oilers. So, and I would actually say his bigger moves, because Petrie is, when Weber has been down, has been one of the best defensemen in the league and very sort of underrated. Like offensively, at least I'll say. Defensively, Petrie's not the best.
They made Buffalo look like idiots.
Oh yeah,
they traded for the fourth, and then traded him for a second and a fourth.
Yeah, it's fascinating to look at.
Asset management at its finest.
Yeah. He's such a weird general manager because it took him so long to use his cap, and now that he did. And of course, the biggest question that can really make or break a lot of stuff is the Anderson deal, which is like you have to keep an eye on. But I mean, good on him. I mean, this is a team that has always sort of been at the bottom 5 of Dom's listings here. So it's so nice to see a team that's really like I would always think would be a top 5 organization. But you can easily see that the fan base is a lot higher on this team than the public seems to be. The Washington Capitals doesn't help when all this pool party stuff comes out. 12th, a team that we sort of, I think the three of us agree that we can give an honorary champion to the offseason to. But their cap management is really what may take them out of being an upper echelon team. The Vegas Golden Knights at 12. 11th, Philly. I don't really know what we can sort of say other than...
Did they do anything?
They didn't, like the fact that they didn't make a big trade that just kind of backfired on them has been good. Because they're a team that has like tinkered so much with their core. Even when they were they were contenders, that the fact that they just kind of kept what they had and went with it, and just that, I think that was good. And they've drafted pretty well. I mean, the Samurai trade at 11th in 2013, I know that was 7 years ago, but that's still like, I don't know, that's like a pick that I kind of felt like a team would have done like 2000 or like 1995.
I think the fan base are forgetting the JVR deal. Like Kevin Hayes. I always say Jimmy. In the playoffs, I think Kevin Hayes really started earning his money.
Like a Justin Williams player.
But you know what? Like right here, Decision says, I'm a little surprised at the team's free agency score, given recent deals to Hayes and James Rezaik. Don't look agreeably great, but contracts aside, those two are part of what gives the Flyers one of the league's deepest forward groups. 16th, the Dallas Stars. Vision, cap management, and roster building is at the top there. I don't know about that because, like, I look at their defensive depth, and I'm like, you got Heiskanen, and it's Lindell, and I'm like, okay, but what, like, Klingberg, okay.
And don't forget, do not forget, right defenseman, right winger, Mark Pysyk.
Yeah, but and like you're like Sekera and that, but like it also helps when you go to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Penny's brother,
right?
We didn't say that.
Penny's brother.
Yeah, great, fantastic for him. The LA Kings, 9th. They are. You know what? I'm looking
getting gems in the draft.
Yeah, they're drafting and developing. Got a 3.9 from the public, which I think is very low. 4.7 from the fan base. I mean, what is ever a perfect drafting and developing thing? But I mean, their cap management got a very good score from the team. And I'm just from fan base. And I'm like, yeah, but Doughty and Kopitar. Yeah,
but we've had this discussion. I think we haven't had it on the podcast. I think we've talked about it off the podcast. Is Drew Doughty worth $11 million, or is it because when you watch him play with this team, maybe not? But if you put him on a more of a closer to a contender, I think maybe he is worth that type of money.
Erik Karlsson, because Doughty got the first. Well, because here's what's interesting, because Doughty set that market.
Yes, he did.
Because was he gonna? It's tough. I almost relate it to he's a great defenseman. There's no doubt about it. But then you look at like a John Carlson, 8.25. That's like your number one, or like I think it's around 8.25. Same with OEL.
Yeah,
those are like the same Olympic defenseman. Hedman a few years ago, yes, but didn't get that much money. And then it just sort of feels like I don't know. I think the Sharks and the Kings. I wonder if there's that carry pricing of like. Bergevin gave Price a deal he got because you're not going to let him go. You can't do that. And I wonder if also Doughty and Kopitar looked at Taves and Kane and said, okay, they got you there. They got the Blackhawks their cups. I got you your cups. You're going to give me what I want. Because I don't think him and Carlson should have gotten 11. Because if the best centerman in the league, the average deal is, okay, I'd say 10.5 is like your new starting point for an amazing. Eichel gets around 10.5, and I don't know how exactly those two defensemen got more than a guy like Jack Eichel, or like how Eichel didn't elevate his deal towards there.
Well, so here's the thing: I think we've had this discussion. John Carlson is very good offensively, but defensively.
And he doesn't have the Olympic pedigree there. He's like the number one.
Oh, absolutely. But so does Drew Doughty. I think that they're on that pedestal of their Olympic pedigree.
Yeah.
But
Doughty made it.
Would you take? Yeah, that I guess. Would you take Doughty over Carlson? Because I think I would.
What? Okay. I can't answer that question. I'm biased. So you guys know how much I love Erik Karlsson.
Not Eric.
Oh,
John.
His younger brother.
I'd Doughty in second. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I guess I should have clarified. I didn't think about that.
Yes. Right? I think it's between John and Eric.
No, sorry. That's why. Like, do I think Drew Doughty's $3 million better than John Carlson? No.
If you asked me 2 years
ago. But I
don't
think it's an issue of cap management because they have $14 million in cap space, or 13.6. They have they're not going to be making many other moves. I don't know how much this deal, those two deals are going to have that big of an effect. I mean, who knows? I guess it depends on the future of the cap.
Yeah.
Is it going to be 5 or 6?
Right, like, that's the thing. It's like
they're still paying Dustin Brown.
check.
I know that.
It's like, who do they like? They don't have anyone right now who need the money. That's the only thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like their UFA, their free agents next season are Alex Iafallo, Blake Lizotte, Trevor Moore, Michael Amadio, Matt Roy or Wa.
I like Adams. I like your facial expression today.
Watch the YouTube version to get my opinion on those players. So I just use my face and saying guy. Yeah, they're not going to make a lot of money, right?
Right. Like I don't think they're the guys that need to get paid aren't really in the NHL yet, right? Like Turcotte, Arthur Kaliev, Tyler Madden, Quinton Byfield, those guys are Akil Thomas as well.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to get paid eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But
Gabe
I
Velarde.
think, but at that point, I don't know if those deals are going to be significant. That's why I don't necessarily think their cap management is awful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Columbus is 8th. The team above them in 7th. We'll focus on them for a particular reason. 7th place is the Toronto Maple Leafs. As much as people complain on Twitter, the Leafs fan base is actually, it seems like a lot of the heat seems to come from, what's really interesting, the fan base gave the Toronto Maple Leafs a 4 out of 5 for cap management when the public opinion gave them 2.6. Now, I feel like a lot of people will sort of say, I think it's more in the middle there, to be honest with you, because obviously the big contracts are an issue, but I think what Dubas was actually able to do this offseason and being able to bring in a guy like TJ Brody and getting Thornton and Spezza on the cheap, I think really kind of helped them out. But I think
it changed the team, man. Like
this is definitely a lot of people are very harsh and a mix of like a very popular fan base that is sort of not popular, a very sort of, there's a lot of Leafs fans and maybe some people are being a bit too nice. Like the same with the Canadians. I think they were being a lot pretty gentle here. It's definitely in the middle, but I think they're a top 5 ranked organization.
I mean, my bias, I think they are, but they did what we all expected them to do. They tinkered with or what I expected them to do. They tinkered with the squad without touching the big 4. Kyle Dubas said, not word for word. He worked as you know how when you work under Lou, you learn how to not answer the question. Pretty much said he's not going to touch the top 4, but that squad's going to change. TJ Brody, legit top 4 defenseman. And then you bring in Thornton and Spezza, who can still play on league min deals. Bogosian, who could be in your lineup. Like the guy played almost 20 minutes in the last game of the Stanley Cup final. Mm-hmm. Right? You bring in Wayne Simmons, who yes, you lost Kyle Clifford and you replaced him with Wayne Simmons, but still you still have that toughness. And when Kyle Clifford was in Toronto, the entire team looked different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he did a good job.
Daniel.
Yeah, the way he's been able to kind of maneuver everything, I think one of the biggest criticisms with Cal Dubas, which again was a Lou decision, was getting rid of, basically drafted it became Seth Jarvis, which I think we'll see how that prospect develops for the Hurricanes to get rid of Patrick Marleau's contract. But the way that he's been able to kind of not only add to the core, maneuver around it, and recoup assets has been a testament to, Cal Dubas as like whether or not he is competent as a GM. And I think that he's perfectly suited for this. I think, and hasn't really been spoken about too much, but I think like this offseason really kind of solidified what he can do with the squad. I think getting rid of a lot of the money that was kind of tied to players that he didn't feel there was a future for, and to not just kind of get rid of them. Like I think of Kasperi Kapanen and what he's been able to do. I know we talk about, that 15th overall pick, but like getting Philip Hollander in that as well, and knowing that this is a guy ceiling, maybe he's going to just be a top 9 guy, but you still keep adding organizational depth to this lineup, and to get these guys on the cheap, Thornton, Spezza, whether or not it was hometown discounts, probably is, and to get TJ Brody, who I think, again, what I said last year, he complements this team so much better than Tyson Berry.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, 6th place we have St. Louis. I thought they may be a bit lower. Maybe they take a hit from Pietrangelo, but one of the comments here says that with Krug, it showed there was always a plan. The Rangers are 5th. No, we're going to move on here just because we have the Rangers. Because I really want to stop on number 4. Detroit. 4th place, a 4.0 average here. Vision was their highest score on both ends because, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Yzerman is the thing.
Right. When you have Steve Yzerman, your vision's 5 out of 5. 2020 vision, as they say.
Yeah, cap management was another good score. Probably like the Mark Stahl deal, utilizing as a weapon. Free agency. The fan base especially is extremely, extremely confident.
Yeah.
There's this sort of like comparison of last year to this year also in the article people should check out. Oh boy, it's great.
Yeah, I think he's been pretty sneaky with everything he's been able to do, Steve Yzerman. What you said, like getting a draft pick for Mark Stahl, who, he may not have the legs anymore like we were used to, or, his type of game not really fitting in anymore, but he's a guy that could come in and be a veteran voice. We just don't know. Getting those other guys under contract, they've been pretty good. He hasn't really overpaid anyone. And yeah, just like I said before, he's not tinkering too much with what he already has. He's just kind of waiting now until those bigger contracts just come off the books, until Detroit could really, make something now of a foundation from those draft picks.
Mm-hmm. Carolina's 3rd because Carolina. Tampa are 2nd. They just won the Cup. And number 1, can there be no doubt? Joe Sakic and his Colorado Avalanche. 4.6 out of 5, and their lowest score from the public is 3.9 from free agency. Maybe the goalie, you can kind of say, is the one thing there. Their lowest score from the fan base was 4.0 from drafting and development. Oh my, can I share my screen right now just to mention this? I'll just quickly, I don't want to show too much of the article. I'm just going to show the graphic here.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God.
What an infographic.
Wow.
The profs at RSJ would be proud.
I know. Balancing out that text with infographic. I love it.
So basically what I think these numbers here are, so they were 1st in vision, 1st in trading, cap management when it came to a public opinion, and a fan base, the most competent cap management and trading.
Wow.
Color. We did our deep dive, and we kind of went on all about them.
I know. I've said enough about Alex Newhook.
Yeah, man. Hey, when there was rumors about Tatar and Petrie getting traded, I was like, yeah, go get them. All right.
It was Newhook and Graves, right? That's who we were talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, and
Connor
Martin
Timmins.
Kaut.
And Connor Timmins.
Yes, and all of them. Just give me everyone. Give me McKinnon for him. Why not? All right. Do we want to see the player agent and reps one for next episode, so we're still a little light on stuff, or?
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind it.
All right.
Let's get nuts.
We love the Athletic, but we got to space out the love.
Yeah. Well, they are awesome. Who doesn't love the Athletic?
No, I don't know. I love the Athletic.
People who don't like good sports journalism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good then?
Well, we have to do the deep dive.
Oh God, yeah, we do.
Come on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're just about to end the episode with no deep dive.
Yeah.
Anyone who's listening who is a Dallas Stars fan is now tuned out.
Yeah, they're like, man, what are these people?
Just
They're so biased against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, well, you guys lost in the finals.
Straight up disappointed.
I'm trying to click the Dallas Stars on cap friendly, but it was okay. So, we'll start with the goaltenders then, because we always do. They got Anton Khudobin back.
Yep.
Khudobin. They got Antoine Khudobin.
Went on.
And it's really, I didn't know this about that Khudobin deal. Is now Ben Bishop and Anton Khudobin expire in the same year, 3 years from now.
Yep.
I didn't realize Bishop made less than $5 million. Oh.
I think he was already 33.
Yeah, him and Khudobin are only a year apart.
Wow.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what do we want to say about the goaltending other than we all saw what Khudobin did in the playoffs, and we all know what Ben Bishop is like when he's healthy.
Can he do it again?
Yes. Wait,
Yes.
Bishop or Hudobin?
Hudobin.
I think they can both do it.
I think they.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you watch Khudobin's workload though.
Especially at the beginning of next season.
Yeah, I imagine right now the guy's like, "Oh, I'll finally go home."
Please. Yeah,
Where's
honestly.
he from again?
I believe is he not?
Anton Hudobin?
I'm pretty sure he's Russian. No, he's
I
from
think-
Kazakhstan. He's from Kazakhstan.
Yes.
I don't even
Do you know
where.
who else is from Kazakhstan?
Who?
Borat.
Oh, what they're gonna say? Nick Antropov, Leafs
Nick
legend.
Antropov too. That was the second name in my head. I knew that.
Where is Kangastan?
Technically, well, he was a Russian citizen, but Evgeny Nabokov was born in Kazakhstan.
technically.
Yo, I'm looking at.
Well, he was
pictures.
born when it was USSR, was it not?
Yeah.
Was he not?
That was like Kangas Khan, the Pokemon.
What?
What?
Kangastan sounds like the Pokemon Kangas Khan. Yeah, it's a normal type. It's kind of like a kangaroo. It has like a little Kangastan like little pouch.
Sure. I'll just agree.
Yeah. They also re-signed Essa Lindell 5 times 5.8. That's a lot of money.
That is quite a bit of money. How did
Or am I thinking of Rupe Hintz, who's at 3.15?
Rupe Hintz? No, I think Rupe. I really like that deal.
Yeah.
Do you not like that deal, Adam?
I think with Rupe Hintz is I don't hate Dallas's center depth, but with Tyler Seguin having a procedure which I cannot pronounce, I think it is very important for those guys. And I mean, it's a different player, but we saw without Radek Faksa what Dallas was like. So anytime you can re-sign a centerman at a reasonable deal is a win.
Yeah.
On my books.
They've been pretty good in terms of their forwards. I think that they don't have to worry too much because when I think about organizational depth, I don't think they've drafted very well.
No, they have not.
Like Thomas Harley has been okay on the back end. Joel Henley, I know he's 29, but he's a guy that, they got lucky with signing him. And when I think about their forwards, like a big thing I've been reading about, especially with, the USHL or like the NCAA, has been Riley Tuft. And he has not become the player that the Stars thought he was going to be. Like he's looked more like a Kyle Clifford instead of a Mark Stone. And I look at like Ty Dellandrea or like Jason Robertson. I think these are guys that they've kind of reached on in the draft, and it just hasn't paid off. It hasn't become what they thought they were getting in these guys. And I think it's okay because, we've talked about Hintz and Fasca, but when I think of like injuries, when I think of the depth they just don't have now, when you think of Seguin gone, or, we don't know what 36, 37-year-old Joel Pavelski is going to look like. We don't know what Jamie Benn we're going to get next year. It's a lot to think about.
Bishop, they signed. Khudobin, obviously, has been all over the league. Seguin, they traded for. Pavelski, they signed. Ben, they did. Radulov, they signed. Yeah. All your big name players aren't even your own guys. Now on defense, they got lucky because they won a draft lottery. Got Miro Heiskanen. And then and Jamie Benn and John Klingberg are late round picks.
Mm-hmm.
You got some magic beans there. So they those top round picks, they need to really step up there. I want to go and double check their drafting and developing from that quick from that article quickly, guys.
Yeah, I think that's what they've developed. I think they've done a good job at developing in a way. But drafting, let's kick it up a notch in drafting. Like I have their reserve list up from Cap Friendly. Like there's not many names that really stand out to me. The only one that stands out to me is Antonio Strangers, but that's just because I heard about him. Where did I hear about him? I was doing some research for something, and he came across my screen, and he looked quite good, but he dropped to the 4th round.
When are we gonna talk about Jason Robertson and refer to him as Nick's brother?
Absolutely, starting right now.
Yes. Okay.
By the way, drafting and development was the lowest score that Dallas got in there.
Oh, okay.
Like, is Jake Ottinger? I don't know what they have him in yet. Like,
Well, he played one game.
yeah,
in
and
the playoffs.
I know he was a low first round pick, but every time a goalie goes in the first round, I think there's just a bit more of like that scrutiny that has to be there.
Oh yeah. Well, Mike's a big fan of him, an NCAA guy. I think he's pretty tall too, which as a goalie is half of the requirements, to be honest with you.
Daniel, how tall is Yaroslav Askarov? Pop quiz.
6'3".
You know what? I'll go with it. I didn't actually search it up.
I don't know. I just like guessed it. Good check right now.
He is. That's useless. He's how tall?
6.02.
Okay, I was one inch off.
Close.
Yo, by the way, in 5 games played, he is a shutout of 1.08 goals against average and a 960 save percentage. Hello, Nashville.
In the KHL?
Yeah.
Or Saint Petersburg.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know, but still. Oh my
Oh
god.
no, yeah, no, he's
Oh my god.
Spencer Knight, who?
Who does he play for again? I want to say
Spencer Knight?
I want to say he plays for Boston, like Boston U. But Spencer Knight, who is
Boston College.
Why did I say U? I'm an idiot. Oh
Close.
my god.
You know what? Brian Burke would be happy about that
We
one.
miss one freaking day, one episode, and we miss it. Is he not playing? Because
They haven't started yet.
Oh.
I think yesterday. According to Mike, made it seem like yesterday was the first day. So
We were in Wisconsin before we played 2 games. Won them both. What's up? Shout out to Cole Caulfield. His brother scored yesterday as well.
does his brother play for
Yeah, he plays on
Wisconsin? Oh, that's nice.
There was also another player that we have to remember who was a great goalie that played for Boston College.
Who's that?
Joe Wall.
Really?
Joseph Wall.
What's up with him lately anyway?
Well, we'll find out if he gets playing time.
Maybe if there's a 4 goalie rotation, like they start using goalies
No.
like starting pitchers, we'll see.
No. He's not. He's not going to touch the NHL. He'll play. I think Daniel's right that there's going to be more goalies in the NHL next year. I just think that's the reality of the schedule and situation. So didn't have a great first AHL season. So see what happens.
So predictions for next year: do the Stars make another run?
No.
No.
I don't think they're going to make it to the Cup final. Will they make the playoffs? Absolutely.
They run into Colorado again. I don't think the Avalanche are going to let that go by.
No, especially since they added Brandon Saad and they have other guys who are coming up. And Nathan McKinnon is a year older and a year better. So
He's a year wiser.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, was there a player who could have done there was not a player who did more in that playoffs than Nathan McKinnon did. Like of everyone.
Yeah. I was gonna say Connor McDavid, but no.
Unfortunately, didn't get to play enough. If he had
Dominic Kubalik, first game against the Oilers.
No, because
you go ahead. Sorry.
Like Sergio, I was on Team Hedman the entire time, right?
Yeah.
But he had points in all but one game, McKinnon. He was so good. And they lost that game in 10 seconds. I don't care about Kippy Ranta.
Is he still 66 in NHL 21? That's the last time I saw.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Adam hasn't played in a month.
No.
They've broken the game. They finally fixed it though. Yeah.
Okay. Have they?
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, how about fix Jeff Petrie? He scores more than 20 points in a year, god damn it.
Just email them.
Fix your dumb game. Even though he's been in here for 4 years, please. He's never been a defensive defenseman. Change it to offensive defenseman. Still doesn't do any points. Great. It's more points every year. He's been the Canadian. Better than the last, but no. Defensive defenseman. Same as Carl Rosner, apparently.
Would it be fair to say Nick Robertson is not a playmaker?
He's a sniper.
Because he scored 50 goals?
Yeah. Is that fair to say?
I don't personally know a lot about his play, so
Neither do I. But
it's like Nick Suzuki scored like 40 odd goals in junior, but he's a playmaker. It is junior, right?
I guess
It's like you're not facing off against Freddie Anderson, Carey Price,
that's
and
true. That's fine. That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
Joe Smith from Sudbury.
Smith from Sudbury.
Yeah.
I bet that's their goalie.
I have a funny story. I remember reading this a while back on TSN's comments.
Yeah.
And I remember when the Leafs took Nazem Kadri 7th overall. And then someone said in the comments, man, why can't the Leafs never get anyone Canadian? And then someone responded, hey man, this guy's from Mississauga just because his name's not John Smith or something.
Guy played for London. Like you cannot. There is no such thing more of Canadian hockey than playing for the London Knights. Because completely unfair and always somehow dominant. Even I'm not going to go there, but I mean, like.
Hey, do you want them to attack the podcast? I think I've already said enough, but I don't know. I want to put them over the edge.
About the London, I can't believe they like the thing Steve Dangle said about them changing their Wi-Fi thing to screw Leafs or whatever.
I wouldn't even be surprised.
That is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I listen to Gordon Ramsay on the daily call someone a donkey, and it's
Okay.
Are we done?
If you want to be done, yes.
How deep of a dive did you want on these Dallas Stars?
I mean,
they're okay.
Who are we gonna do next? If we're saying, do we just finish the Central?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Who's
Nashville?
Nashville? Sure.
Okay.
What do we say? Good defense.
Well,
everything else sucks except for Philip Forsberg.
shoot. Yeah.
All
It's
right,
a tough one. It's a tough one.
We'll do a poll.
We're done. We're done. We don't need to do it anymore.
We'll do a poll on Instagram.
Okay. I'm down. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it. Why not?
Let's
See if
do
we
it.
get activity on it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
What? So what? Between what do we want between?
Let me
Put the
pull
poll
up.
up between Nashville and who?
Chicago.
Did we miss
I don't
anyone in
know.
the Central?
I think we did
Chicago?
Yeah.
We definitely did. I don't know who we
Yeah.
missed. Okay, we did Colorado, Dallas, St. Louis. We did Winnipeg.
We did Vegas for some reason.
We did Vegas.
The Pacific.
We need to do Nashville, Minnesota.
No, we did Minnesota.
When
Remember,
did
it
we
wasn't.
do Minnesota?
It was our first one. I texted you guys. Remember, I was like, just look at Minnesota's roster. It was the first sort of impromptu deep dive.
Yeah.
We- we-
Okay,
of the
so
deep dive.
Nashville and Chicago.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So whoever loses the poll will be next, like with the episode after that.
Wait, what?
So the next episode will be the winner of the poll, and the one after that will be.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I got it.
okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense now.
All right, Daniel, you can do the outro.
All right. Well, guys, we talked a lot of topics today. I didn't realize
Wait,
how long we
Daniel,
went.
Daniel,
Yes.
before you finish, I thought I'd make it, just put it out there. I know none of us watch golf, but it's hockey related. Wayne Gretzky's son-in-law just won the Masters.
Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Rory
I wasn't going to
McIlroy.
say, I wasn't.
Mike Weir.
Have some respect for Dustin Johnson. Just call him Wayne Gretzky's son-in-law. He's a
But-
wicked golfer.
Again, I don't watch golf, so the names, like, I know Tiger Woods. That's about it.
I felt so out of place.
And
I'm
listen,
like, should we start watching this?
And I don't know Tiger Woods because of how good he was at golf. I think. Just put that out. Put that out there.
Do they still make
Because he
EA
cheated on
Sports
his wife
PG?
for a bunch of
Because there's other things on the news.
Because he cheated on his wife with a bunch of women.
And it was on
Whoa.
the news and I didn't watch golf.
Sorry.
He cheated on his wife.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something funny?
Again, maybe.
I don't know
No
if you saw, but
comment,
Sid
no
60
comment.
just said Wayne Gretzky's son-in-law just won the Masters.
Where do you think I stole my thing
Oh,
from?
okay. I thought it
Daniel?
was like, wow.
Absolutely
What a coincidence.
not.
Yeah.
I stole it from him.
Thanks, Sid.
Because if I just read Dustin Johnson won the Masters, I wouldn't have brought this up.
Brother of Jack.
Jack, no.
Daniel, finish this.
Fish.
Well, guys,
My
that's been
microphone.
fun. Tune in next episode for our next deep dive on, asterisk on what we will talk about because we're going to make a poll. Where you guys want to make it? Instagram, Twitter, Wherever.
Twitter.
Be honest. Yeah. Okay. Thank you again, Voice Ed.
Let's put
Always
it
giving us a
everywhere.
platform.
Everywhere.
Okay, put everywhere.
And then count up all the faults.
Okay. Thank you again, Voice Dad, for always giving us this platform. We are eternally grateful for you. Be sure to check out Adam's YouTube channel. When are we going to see the next video?
Sometime when the Canadians do something, or probably in a few weeks when I do like a line projection. Even though I've done it on the show, just make a video out of it soon.
Right.
Just
Cool,
nothing
cool.
to talk about.
Yes, so aside from this, we're doing a lot of great projects here and there. Alex is perpetually a guest on many great shows as well, so be sure to check it out whenever he reposts it. We will continue to keep talking about hockey. We will find the angles that other places have not been looking at as we continue on in this off season. We will keep on going. If you liked what you listened to, please give us, a rating on Apple Podcasts. If you didn't like it, you could tell us why. We will actually acknowledge your comment on the show. So
Only if you're nice.
there's that. Yes, instant feedback right there. So that we're listening.
Want to see Daniel clear frame glasses? Go check out the YouTube version.
Yes, of course. Check out our reactions to everything we kind of said about on the YouTube channel. So listeners, we love you.
See ya.
I respect them.